So hey everyone, my name is Grant Primo. As Michael mentioned, I'm a senior consultant on our GP team. I primarily manage Dynamics GP and SL upgrades. I also do some consulting with third-party procurement products. Jeff, you want to give a brief introduction?
Sorry about that. So yes, my name is Jeff Suen. We here at Velosio are actually have a contract with Microsoft, so I'm actually the product manager for Microsoft Dynamics SL. So I'll give you the latest and greatest information here. So along with doing IP, which is my focus, we're also going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the SR world. So I'll hand it back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir. Alrighty. So, before we get into any ERP specific topics for GP or SL, Jeff and I quickly wanted to review the life cycles of likely the infrastructure that you all are running today. First, starting with SQL Server life cycles. So as you'll see on this slide in this table, we have all of the SQL Server versions from 2012 all the way up to Server 2022. This includes the release date, the end of mainstream support, as well as the end of extended support. Now, one thing I do want to call out on this slide, as you'll see bolded in red, is that SQL Server 2014 will be reaching the end of its extended support on July 9th of next year. So this isn't any specific call to action, but it's always something to be aware of. I personally definitely recommend attending session number 3 if you are interested in moving to the cloud. We won't try to push that down your throats on this presentation, but it's always nice to get to meet our cloud team with a team who's used to hosting and managing the server side of these solutions and work closely with our consultants to help ensure you have a great experience. Again, I'll also give you just a couple more seconds here to peruse the various dates we have here for the end of mainstream support as well as the end of extended support in case you are someone on the infrastructure side that might not be aware of these. Again, it's always good to have. Now, as we look at our next slide, I wanted to talk about the Windows Server life cycles, and this one potentially might have more of a call to action, specifically with the second row here for Windows Server 2012 as well as 2012 R2. You'll notice that the extended support date is October 10th. I know personally we've had quite a few clients recently engage or complete upgrade projects with this date in mind, as again, being out of support, whether you're on SQL or Windows Server, excludes you from getting those critical bug fixes, new releases and patches. So we certainly want your data to be secured. That's always our number one priority whenever we're discussing a new project or a new initiative. We always want you to be on the latest and greatest software that's compatible with what we're moving to. Of course, anything on Windows Server 2008 is now out of all mainstream support and extended support as well. And then you can also, again, look at Server 2016, 2019, and Server 22, all of which the latest GP and SL versions are compatible on, and you'll see those the end of life and the extended support for those products as well. However, with that being said, I will move on to the Dynamics GP portion of this webinar, specifically starting with the fixed life cycle, especially if some of those previous slides may have resonated with you. It's potentially likely that you're on the Dynamics GP fixed life cycle. And so what the fixed life cycle is currently, it's Dynamics GP 2015 and 2018 R2 that are currently in the extended support of the fixed life cycle. That means if you're in GP 2013 or 2013 R2 or a version prior, you are completely out of support, unfortunately. So that means you're unable to, as you can see on this slide, you can't purchase any more users and modules. We will continue to support you here at Velosio, but if something were to come up in the specific software and Microsoft's, their comments back to us would be that you need to upgrade to a newer version. You'll also notice that third bullet point down here that you need to upgrade to the Dynamics GP modern lifecycle that we'll talk about on the next slide to stay in what is considered to be mainstream support. And the extended support is really just going to be there to provide critical security fixes. Those don't happen too often. But again, you never know. And as I mentioned earlier, we always want your data to be protected. We want you to be secure because ultimately, if it's not secure, Velosio and your team will certainly have some heartache to go through and fix whatever might need to be resolved in some of those situations. Now, as we look at the fixed life cycle, again, as you'll see, GP 2013 R2 came out of extended support earlier this year on April 11th. And then as we look to GP 2015 and 2015 R2, that extended support is ending in April 8th of 2025. So you certainly have, a workable solution if you're on 2015 and later release. But again, that's really just for the security fixes. We want to make sure that if possible, you can upgrade to a new version, modernize your servers, your hardware, your software, and really have the best experience you can with Dynamics GP. Now, as I mentioned, moving on to the modern lifecycle is really where Microsoft has been for these past 3 to 4 years. I like to call this the GP 18.x lifecycle because rather than having specific years attached to GP, again, 2015, 2016, 2018, they're now really just in the build number phase where, like you might see if you're on Office 365, you're no longer running Outlook 2016 or Outlook 2019. It's just Microsoft Outlook. Updates are certainly there. They'll be released, but it's removing that year version. Now, to stay current on this modern lifecycle, Microsoft recommends and kind of requires that you're on one of their 3 previous yearly releases. So you'll see down at the bottom slide here, these are some examples of kind of where we stand right now, or potentially where we'll stand on the 2nd of October, with the most recent release of Dynamics GP being released on June 12th of this year. So that's currently the latest and greatest you can get from GP with tax updates, regulatory updates, hotfixes, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty bog standard, but again, they're releasing three releases every year, which does show the commitment from Microsoft to the GP product to really ensure that they're fixing what they can and providing the best experience for you guys. In the October release, that's where you get more of that new capability, new functionality, as well as, of course, hotfixes that are going to be identified throughout the entire user base of GP, especially those folks that are running currently GP 18.5. If you'd like more information about this, certainly, as Mike mentioned, reach out to your account manager. If you're one of the clients that are on the concierge desk, certainly reach out to them. They should have all of this information and can help walk you through what your journey with GP will look like. And of course, finally on this table, we also display the December or sometimes the late November update. This is really for any of you clients that are running payroll in GP and need those year-end updates. Those are never finalized really by the IRS, by the US government, later after this expected October release. So Microsoft is still working to get as much as they can really in between the 7 to 8 weeks that they have between the full release and the new release. Alrighty. Moving on and looking at the future of Dynamics GP. As I mentioned again, I manage a lot of GP upgrades, and it's not uncommon for me to get a question on our kickoff call of, hey, our account manager was talking to us about moving to this Business Central or Dynamics 365, if you've heard of it that way. And we chose to go with the upgrade, but we want to know if this is kind of the right or wrong decision. The good news is, as far as I'm concerned, upgrading GP, upgrading SL is always the right decision. There's nothing wrong with getting on the latest release of the software. As you'll see here, the very first bullet point, Microsoft has committed to ensuring that Dynamics GP is in mainstream support to 2028 and beyond. Now, I'm not necessarily going to comment on the beyond, but I can certainly look at mainstream support till 2028 and look at that as a pretty big win. They released that messaging, I think, around 2 years ago. And at that point, again, you're 7 years out, and here we are still 5 years out from at least where they've committed to maintaining that support. That also means that's their commitment to those new releases. So of course, we're going to go to GP 18.6 There will, of course, be an 18.7, 18.8, 18.9, and so forth. But there are some key things to call out about the GP product as a whole. For any new customers, and this would be a net new purchase of the Dynamics GP product. In terms of licenses, starting on April 1st of 2025, Microsoft's not going to allow for the purchase of any new perpetual licenses. So again, that's you buy your one license and you have that forever. And then as we look at April 1st of 2026, that's where Microsoft is going to remove the ability to purchase any new subscription GP licenses. So that's going to be your month over month GP license per user per month, essentially. That, again, if you're on that plan, you're probably aware of that. And so again, we want to call that out. But of course, again, that is for new customers. So if you're on this meeting and I'm speaking to you as a GP client, if you already have those subscription licenses, you're certainly welcome to purchase more since you're not a new customer. But again, it's something we want to be aware of. It's something we've communicated back to our internal team to ensure that they don't lead you wrong whenever you might be looking at increasing your GP licenses. Now, at this point, I wanted to talk about with your future with Dynamics GP. As I've mentioned kind of throughout this slide, Microsoft has their thrice yearly releases where they're showing their strong commitment to the future of Dynamics GP. Of course, we all know the future is going to be in a true cloud-based solution like Dynamics 365 Business Central, or potentially even the finance and operations suite that they have, and if you're going a little bit more enterprise from where you are on GP today. But again, it's nice to know that you're not really running into anything immediately in terms of GP stopping to support you. It's always going to be available. And every year that they release new versions, it gets easier and easier for our team to upgrade and help support you in the future. Another thing to call out is that, frankly, a GP upgrade is always a great way to modernize. Again, if you're running some of those older versions of GP, especially I think about anything 2015 or 2015 R2 and previous, there are definitely some new updates to GP that will help your users. The good news is it's never going to be reteaching you how to use the product, but it will be modernized and it will work with Microsoft's new Azure-based tools that they're introducing and continuing to improve on. We see a lot of that, especially with emailing, making emailing easier for you all out of the system. I know there's new emailing updates with GP 18.6 that are super nice and in good quality of life improvements. However, again, another great way to modernize is to move to the cloud. Again, we'll have that session next Tuesday to speak more specifically to what a cloud migration and potentially including that upgrade looks like. But moving to the cloud can really help your company save some money on infrastructure while you're preparing for your next ERP. Again, everyone knows kind of eventually we're going to have to move off of GP or SL. But in the interim, if you have physical servers in your office or in a data center today, if you move with our cloud team, that's a great interim step where you're not purchasing a bunch of server hardware that will potentially prevent you from upgrading because of those additional costs. It can be a great middle ground to introduce your team to a cloud presence and get them familiar with Azure. Lastly, again, talk with your account manager. If you have questions, they're happy to help you discuss your options and really identify which scenario really works for your company the best. We always want what's best for you all, and we can certainly understand the concerns about cost, concerns about security, and everything under the sun there. I'll leave you with the fact that although, again, you might be on a version of GP that's out of Microsoft's mainstream support, or if that comes in the future, that doesn't mean Velosio will stop supporting you as well. We're always going to do our best to support you with whatever version of GP you're on. I know we have clients running GP 10 that was released around 14 years ago that are still receiving support from our team, and we're finding solutions that will work best for them. With all of that being said, I will turn it over to Jeff for the SL side.
All right, thank you very much. Go to the next slide. SL 2018, which is the last version of SL 2018 of SL that's going to be put out, will go from mainstream support to extended support January of 2024, right? So what does that mean? Mainstream support, you can call and say, hey, I've got a bug, Jeff. Can you take a look at it? Can you see if there's an issue where we can fix that? And when it's in mainstream support, we will do that. When we move over to extended support, we no longer will be doing that. So you can still get support, so you can still upkeep and keep your maintenance agreement with Microsoft, and you can continue to email and get support on the solution and how it works. But no additional fixes will be made. No additional year-end updates will be made after this year. No cumulative updates will be created for the SL 2018 release. So that's no longer going to be happening. This allows you to make an understanding, okay, the product is not going to stop working in 2024. That does not what it means. And obviously, it's been going since 2018 with a myriad of small fixes here and there. We've made some enhancements, obviously, over the year, but over the last 2 years or so, we've really been focusing more on just doing any bug fixes that happen to come up. So the product is not going to stop working, but it is time for you to start thinking, okay, what is my next? Is it Business Central? Is it F&O? What does it make sense for me to start moving from Dynamics SL onto another area? So that's the big difference. Another question is asked, well, what if I want to add more users? Well, if you're, again, as Grant said, if you're on this call and you're talking to me, you're an existing SL customer, so you'll continue to add customer or existing users, add new modules if you happen to be in the really old version of SL that was using module ideas. We have that capability. So again, I'm an SL user, I'm on 2018 currently, Jeff, what should I be doing? Well, as Grant said, one area is to make sure you're up on the latest and greatest. And as we talked about previously, 2018 CU10 was the previous. And if we click onto the next slide, the next version is going to be CU11. That'll be the final cumulative update that will be coming out for 2018. Now, one little different question is also if you happen to be on an older version of Dynamics SL, whether you're on 2011 or 2015, through Velosio, our Plumline division of Velosio does have the ability to get access to that same whatever year-end updates happen for 2018. We can make that available to you for 2011 and 2015 as well. But again, if you have any needs around this and you get planning for the rest of the year, when do I need to do my upgrades, please contact your account manager if you're deciding to stay right now currently, and that'll help you get ready for the year end. Next slide. So in encapsulating, what do we have coming on here? Again, there is only one more scheduled release for Dynamics SL 2018. That'll be SL 2018 CU11. But again, that does not mean the product stops working. It will continue to be supported for an additional 5 years through that 2018, as Grant said. But that will be for you to ask questions. Hey, I'm having an issue, something happened. Can you assist me with that? That type of support will continue to go forward, but there will be no hot fixes or fixes being added to the product going forward. So that is where we are with Dynamics SL. Hopefully this is not new news to you, but just again, a reminder of where we're at. As Grant said, if you are not in a position right now to move up to Business Central, F&O, wherever your goal is to go forward path there, definitely come back next week and understand about moving your solution to the cloud. Remove that burden off of you of making sure, are we up to date? Those versions of SQL and server and all that stuff, oh boy, do I need to worry about that? This is a perfect bridge to the cloud, so to speak, is to get that. Talk with your account manager, and as Grant has said as well, you understand that here at Velosio, we're going to have your back. We're going to always be supporting you whatever you decide there. Again, as Grant said, that is the future will be the cloud. But again, start thinking about this now as to when it makes sense for us to move forward. What are the features and functionality that we need out of GP that we're going to need in another solution, whether that's, Business Central, F&O, whatever that happens to be.